I tell people all the time, our spots could quickly change. I mean, like, I could be there and you could be out just like that.
Right.
And it's like I said, and I'm doing everything correctly.
Yeah.
And it can happen just like that because that's how society is, unfortunately. And I don't think the system is set up for us to be successful. And throughout history, we've seen that the deck is stacked against us. And if you don't have the guidance to help navigate through that, you may get caught up, unfortunately, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, not knowing. And then once you, like I said, once you're in the system, it's hard to get out if you don't have the means, you don't have the to get yourself out of that situation. And then if you feel like, it's 2-3 years before I get out and then get caught in the wrong situation, you're further down the rope. And it's like,
well, in 2-3 years, I think it's short.
Correct. You're correct, but it doesn't take that long to get caught up even further into it. Exactly. It could be because I could be holding. If you don't have the means to get out to say, all right, I'm going to go my trial or whatever it is, you still have to be there until your court date comes.
You're listening to the Feed the Soul podcast. We're talking about tackling tough stuff, chasing dreams, and figuring out who we really are. Each episode ends with a word of advice or encouragement, a nugget of inspiration to empower you to dream big and take that leap of faith into the wild adventure of life.
Welcome to the Feed the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Savion, and today we are joined by Terrence.
Terrence Purvis.
Okay, I wasn't going to put your last name out there. I was going to let you do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can scratch it.
It's your government.
Yeah.
Okay? It's your government. So, Terrence Purvis, okay? Today we are recording at the Wisconsin Athletic Club in West Dallas, technically in our conference room, but this is where Terrence and I met, I suppose, last year.
Yes, it was about a year. Yeah, it was about a year.
So I worked at 2 other locations. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
I was at the North Shore location in 2022.
Okay.
Then I went downtown in 2023.
Okay.
And then that fall, I came over to West Dallas.
Okay. Yeah. Because I previously worked out at Experience Fitness.
Okay.
They closed altogether.
Yeah.
And then it was like, find a place.
Yeah.
And the funny story about that is I show up one day and everybody's packing up their stuff. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Oh,
it was absolutely wild.
It was absolutely wild. And, when people are taking machines out of there and taking weights out of there, I'm like, what is the Armageddon? Oh, yes, they were. Yes. Like people who actually physically worked out at the location were taking stuff out of there because the workers were upset at the fact that they found out that day that they were doing.
So they just said, open the door.
You do what you need to do.
Stop.
And I'm like, I'm out of here at 6:00 because we're closing the doors. Whatever you do, you do.
Wow. So I just saw a lot of posting on Facebook and then the sign on the door, and people were like, wait, this is not making sense.
Yeah.
You're just going to say, nope, today
it's over. It's over. I actually had one of my friends that I used to work out with. He called me. He said, do you understand Experience is closing? I said, I'm in the gym right now. Oh, while the gym is closing. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was the first time I've ever experienced that.
Well, I don't anticipate that happening here. And if you haven't picked up yet, the Wisconsin Athletic Club is a gym locally owned in the greater Milwaukee area. And so as far north as Glendale, as far south as Greenfield, right now I'm hoping that we do something that's further south.
Gotcha.
Oak Creek or something. Downtown would be our east side, and as far west as our Lake Country location in Heartland. But Terrence is a regular, always in doing the most, some would say.
Okay. I'm very consistent. Let's put it that. Very consistent. I'll just
love it. Yes.
Let's leave it at that.
So there was one day, Terrence, I think was gone for a period of time, and he came back. You're like, oh, I was just traveling. I was just over in Maryland.
I was in Maryland. That's correct.
And I was like, what you doing in Maryland? I don't know anybody who'd be over in Maryland like that. Okay, tell me
on the regular basis. Yeah, exactly. So I currently work for an organization called Transfer Inc. What we do is we provide workforce development training via virtual reality headsets. So think of it from the perspective of a 5th and 6th grader trying to understand exactly what careers are out there. What does mom and dad do? They're exposed to that, but what other things that are out there that they aren't exposed to?
Right.
So virtual reality gives them an idea or a chance to view a career or experience a career in a 360-degree world. They have the opportunity to experience that in a VR headset. And so like the gamification before. Yeah, go ahead. But no, never did that before. I never even before I took this job almost 3 years ago, never knew that this even existed as far as it's concerned. So, but it didn't take long for me to realize that they're on to something for sure.
So I think what is amazing and what we've talked about just like in the gym is that you travel. But
Correct.
Like a lot of times when people travel, it's really hard for them to get back into the swing of things when they come back, or it can be really easy. I think for you, it's pretty easy. You just jump back into the gym, you
100%.
Jump back into your running. What is your favorite part about the WAC?
The people, everybody's really friendly. Everybody's extremely friendly. From everybody when they reach in the door. I mean, realistically, it's like, hey, how was your workout? I mean, literally, it's like, all right, I have to actually go work out. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a great thing.
Sure.
And because you get to know people on a personal level, just like I always say at work, I always want to greet somebody first as a human being before we actually physically talk about work. The reason why is because we are humans first before we are somebody else as far as an employee or employer or whatever it is. Everybody has their own thing going on, but you may talk to somebody, they may not be having a good day. So from a personal level, you want to be cognizant of that or show empathy or sympathy or however, which I can always forget what it is.
Sure, yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like, just to understand, like, I was going to ask you a question about work, but let's talk about this because maybe you need that 5 minutes to get that off your chest or be able to say, you know what, maybe I'm not having a good day. And then you were able to suggest to that person, maybe you should go home today and then we'll come back tomorrow and talk about that. But that's a good thing because that person's going to come back tomorrow and say, thank you for at least listening to me or hearing what you have to say. And then we can talk about other things that are way more important down the road. They're not important today. What's important for you is your health. And whether it be mental, whether it be physical, whether it be emotional, whatever it is. So,
I mean, even the fact that you listed even more than just physical health, bravo. Oh, because there is a lot. Like there's so much, right? And being at a gym, moving your body helps with all those different elements.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So what keeps you coming back is one, just staying fit.
Yes.
To the community and the connections that you
correct
there.
So one of my goals has always been a healthy 100.
Healthy 100.
Healthy 100. So healthy 100 means I want to be physically, emotionally, and mentally capable to stand on my own too at age 100.
Oh.
And what that basically means is usually you have to have a community, as in your persons or friendships or sitting together. Those relationships are important. You actually have to take care of your health to get you to that point, because otherwise, if you're not standing upright and you're not being able to have a conversation with you, you can't even exercise those other things. Being responsible enough to hold down a situation or a career job that's going to give you enough funds to get you to 100. And then that's all combo together to help you get to that healthy 100. So I'm taking care of my part, as in being physically responsible and eating correctly and physically getting to the gym. And then my community is going to help me actually with the mental aspect of it, in addition to that physical portion of it. And fiscally, I'm responsible for that, but it's usually a team effort. If, you know, other people feel that you're down, like, hey, maybe we can help you out or whatever it is. But that's less of my concern. It's more of the fact that I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing from my standpoint to get me to that point. So that's where I'm at.
Wow. So we consider that section the appetizer of the episode. Okay. A little bit about you, where we're at.
Okay.
You just sparked something for me. You're from Milwaukee.
I am 100% from Milwaukee. Born and raised.
The main course is just kind of like all about you.
Okay, got it.
You want to reach 100 years old.
I want to reach 100 years old. That is my goal. Everything after that's bonus.
Has anyone in your family reached 100?
Yes, my great aunt did.
Okay. So you know it's possible.
100% possible. 100% possible. My grandfather lived to like, I think 84. My grandmother was in her late 80s. I would say black doesn't crack if you take care of it. That's just my thought.
So, okay, at what point did you want to live? And I asked this question because, like, in my 20s, I don't know what happened, but I never even had the thought of making it to 30. Like, I visualized my life up until 30, and then I had no idea what was going to happen.
I probably came up with that thought process probably before 30 because I worked out just to stay in shape. As a kid growing up, you couldn't keep me in the house. And it was like baseball, football, basketball, you name it, I'm gone. To the point where if it was snowing outside, we'd be outside. If we couldn't go outside, we'd be downstairs in the basement, to the point where we cut ice cream buckets and staple them on the wall, and we played basketball back and forth on the wall with my brother. Oh yeah, all that stuff. So you couldn't keep me from not doing something. That was just not an option. Once I understand that, physical fitness could help when you're playing a certain sport, then you bought into a certain extent, like, all right, I need to get a little bit more in shape and things like that. And then, once your technical high school career or whatever you're going to aspire to, or even your college career, it's like, and nobody else is telling you like, hey, you got to go to the gym now. Right. It's on you. Do you want to be in shape or do you want to be out of shape? And I actually like being in shape, but also the goal was like, well, what can I do to point something that's so far ahead that I have to go day by day just to get to so far ahead, because eventually it's going to come. But Healthy 100 doesn't start at 99, it starts at 20. So my thought was, what can I do every week on a consistent basis to get me to be in that point where I'm at a healthy 100? Because then I can say, you know what? I did my part. Because like I said, everybody has certain ailing conditions and things like that. It does because everybody has a certain family history. Yep, correct. Exactly. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you've done your part to at least extend your life as long as you possibly can from a healthy standpoint. Nobody wants to be 85 and in the hospital bed. They would prefer to be standing up, and because there's a lot more life to live. You never know. There's so many other experiences you can have at 85. It's just another chapter in your life. I'm like, okay, fantastic. But nobody wants to do it from the hospital bed. Nobody wants to do it from there. Everyone wants to be standing up, playing with the grandkids or whatever it is, great-grandkids or whatever else. Or whatever. It's like, yes, at least you want to have some kind of onus to the end of this story. Yeah. Some kind of way. So, but, it doesn't, prepare for it at, like I said, 99. You prepare for it at 29 as much as you possibly can.
Right. And I think, for the most part, we know what we need to do to make that happen, to extend our life.
That is correct.
But then there's the saying that life's too short. I might as well just do all the things, which sometimes is reckless behavior,
typically,
which is maybe counterproductive. Okay.
You said it, I did.
So that's been like
mischievous behavior.
It's been really confusing to me. Life is short, so why shorten it even more with certain things? Okay.
To each his own, as they say, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
We're not here to judge.
You're going to reach the 100, so this is about you.
I'm just trying to reach a healthy 100. And if you want to get on the train and come with me, that's more than likely, please. I'm more than willing to, like I said, ride that train with anybody else. Because like I said, I tell people all say, once you're at 100, once you start getting your later years of life, you're like, man, I really wish this could keep going. Yeah. And nobody wants, like I said, nobody wants to be laying in a hospital bed at 69 or 59 or whatever. They wants to be laying in a hospital bed. Like, man, I should have did this.
Well, I already had my colonoscopy. That was rough.
I don't remember it.
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday. But just the fact of being in that hospital room, hooked up to the IV, waiting for the doctor to finish whoever he was with to come and get me. I'm like, this is awful. I felt so much more empathy for folks who are in there on the regular.
Yes.
For things that are out of their control.
For things that are out of control. Like I said, and we can't stop those. And like I said, it's one of those things where you feel for those individuals because like I said, sometimes you get dealt a bad stack of cards for the most part, but you got to maximize the cards that you do have and focus on those as much as you possibly can, because what's the alternative? Yeah. Probably not the right situation you want to be in. So it's like, well, what can I do to maximize what I got? Because like I said, I didn't choose any of this. It wasn't my choice. Yeah. It wasn't when I went to the store and said, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. I'm like, no, it's like, you're here, and I'm just going to make it yourself.
To that point, you're from Milwaukee.
I'm from Born Race. Correct.
You have a background. We talked about this a little bit of your parent dynamic, siblings. You have a blended family.
I do.
The cards that you were dealt are How would you describe that?
I won the frontal lottery.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes. I 100% correct, because I know that there's other people who don't have two parents in the home, have to raise their sister, don't know when the next food's coming in, don't know what. I had a chance to be a kid. Literally, I had a chance to be a kid. Like I said, I'm talking about cutting buckets, taping them to the wall. We playing basketball downstairs. I'm not concerned about, do we have enough groceries in the refrigerator to eat dinner? I know there's 3 square meals a day. I was able to go to school. I had a coat on my back. I had, like I said, I had those things that, some kids don't even have the opportunity to be successful or have the chance to do certain things because they're raising their sister, raising their brother, or like I said, are in an abusive situation with their parents, or whatever the situation may be, or just homeless, just that alone, or just switching house to house, or whatever it is. Or you couch surfing, and there's 3 of us. It's me and my sister and my brother type situation. I mean, my sister and my mom, or whatever. That wasn't my situation, but everybody knows a story somewhere down the road where people are like, how are they that yet hate each other? But it's like, that isn't the ideal situation for somebody to be raised in, right, for the most part. So you try to maximize what you can do, but it's tough. It's not easy. And like I said, that's where you have the empathy. And if you can help, you help wherever you can, and do what you need to do to get somebody back on their feet, or whatever it can be. Because like I said, I won the frontal lottery, even though my parents didn't stay together. Like I said, I had parents who actually cared about me. Mm-hmm. And when you have an ecosystem of uncles and aunts that care as well, it's on me to be successful after that point. It's on me. But like I said, my mom they call her a little general, and they do. It's just, I'm just grateful. Let's just put it there. I'm grateful. That's
awesome.
Yeah, I will. I'm grateful. Yeah. I'll get choked up down.
And that's okay. You used to have a relationship with your mom?
Oh, God, I talk to her every day.
And your dad?
Yeah, my dad's dead.
Okay.
I had stepdad.
Okay.
So we'll put it this way. So mom was in a relationship, got out of that relationship, then ended up getting married to my dad. I was born. My brother was born. My dad had 2 kids from a previous situation. So I have a half brother and a half sister that are older than me by like 5 years.
Oh.
So, and then my dad died from Lou Gehrig's 4 years ago. But my mom raised me on 47 Locust. So that's where I grew up.
Gotcha.
So, speaking to that,
yeah,
first African-American family in that neighborhood, 47th and Locust. So, not 2 blocks, 5 blocks off Sherman Park. By the time I graduated from high school,
say less.
By the time I graduated from high school, you guys, historically, I lived that flight that people talk about. Historically, I lived it. Didn't really realize it until actually I was in college to realize, like, you start learning about things and you start understanding redlining, you start understanding all this stuff, like, I actually physically lived that. And it makes you think about some things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, moving here just 5 years ago, I've been thinking about a lot of things, learning about a lot of history about Milwaukee.
Right.
And the divide that there is
changing at a glacier pace.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's not just here.
Fact.
I lived in Miami. I lived in New York. I've been around. Like I said, my parents, when my mom got remarried, they lived in McHenry, and McHenry is nominally Caucasian. My brother went to high school. He went to middle school and high school in McHenry, Illinois. He lives in Illinois currently right now as it stands. 2 kids, the whole iamps, right? And we went to Chicago all the time. So it's like being in Chicago, bigger city all the time. That's my experience. But living in another city like Miami and living in another city like New York, which is way bigger than Miami, it made you start thinking, like, when you go and associate with people from New York, you could be standing in line with an Hasidic Jew, a person of Native American descent, or a Jamaican or a Korean, and you're all in the same line trying to get the same food.
Yeah.
And like I said, and you have a conversation with somebody, understanding their culture, you just talk about certain things. Like, I would have never thought I'd be having a conversation with somebody from this descent.
Yeah.
when you're in these isolated places to a certain extent, or places that aren't as cultured, you tend to get the same story over and over and over again. And sometimes people need to take into the fact that you need to get out a little bit more and put yourself in situations where you're not the main focus of the situation, where it's like, okay, I need to understand where my comfort level is, and understanding how to address my not misunderstanding, but level of not being comfortable. And is it because I'm just haven't been in that situation, or can I adapt to that? I don't know, but it does make people start thinking, because they can go their whole life and never be in that situation.
Right.
I have to navigate all worlds very quickly for the most part.
Well, especially because you're going over into like that region. Like, so speaking to that, you've lived in Miami, you've lived in New York. Like, what's it like going to Maine? And I think
I was in Maine, I was in Rhode Island, I was in Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, also Maryland, and now I'm tasked to build Delaware currently right now as it stands. So kind of my sweet spot at the organization. Like, you get there, round and pound. It's like you're there, you're introducing yourself to people, and you're navigating all over the world. So you go from rural places to heavy metropolitan places. But like I said, the furthest place I went in Maine was about 2.5 hours away from the Canada border. So it's like, it's crazy. It's, but you have to be comfortable in your own skin to be able to navigate through those situations. When I used to work for another organization, I had half of Wisconsin and all of Upper Michigan. There'd be time when I left my house on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning, when I came back on Friday night and never met anybody else outside of a certain what's the word I'm looking for? Heritage.
not that heritage. Okay.
A certain ethos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's back up.
All right, let's back up.
You go to these areas because of the work that you do.
Yes.
Just in VR. Now, what I appreciate about you is you are very positive. You're very positive.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I agree. There's always the silver. Yeah, we got to keep it moving. Let's focus because life is hard enough as it is already. So if you keep putting barriers in front of your own self, you're sabotaging your own self to a certain extent. It's like, now I got to get over my own discomfort about being uncomfortable. I'm like, it's enough when people just start throwing this stuff on top of you. I'm like, I can't live in that world. So if you're super negative like that, please move to the left or right for the most part.
So have you always been?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like that guy who doesn't give up, probably to a fault. But I'm also to the point where it's like, I want to make sure that we're focused on what we need to get done and how we need to get there. And like I said, there's always going to be things that don't work out. We talked about before. It's like, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. There's failures that happen all the time. And that's like, well, all right, now that this happened, and you could have been the most prepared person and it still happened.
Right.
It's like, all right, so now that we know it's happened, can we try to at least, A, we need to move on. B, how do we adapt to pick up on some of the things that happen, so maybe we could predict it a little bit earlier so we don't go down that pathway. But once we know that, we got to keep moving. How do we work? How do we get better? How do we get better?
Were you ever a teacher?
Negative. My mom wanted me to be a teacher or a doctor.
Okay, I see that for you. Got it. So how did you get into this role?
I want to be a sportscaster. That doesn't help, but that's what I want to do. Actually, I want to be That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Be on Sports Center.
Sports. Say that again.
Sportscaster.
I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, I know. We can talk. We talked about, like sports. I got that. Yes, I know. I'm bringing you along. Come on with me. I understand it. Everybody has their thing. I guess.
So Terrence comes up to the front desk. He asks for the remote for the TV
every day.
He's about to go run his 16 miles on the treadmill. I already knew you were turning on sports. But when you came up the other day and you said, oh yeah, I tried to find the Bucks game. I'm like, they're playing?
Yeah. Yes, they're playing. They're playing,
That's
sir.
something I should know. That's our team.
Yes, they are playing. We won a championship 2 years ago. I'm like, man, this is our time. The only people we're waiting on now are the Brewers to win a championship. And like everybody else has done it. Like, man, the Admirals have done it. Bucks have done it. Packers have done it. We need the Brewers to do it at least one time. At least one time. Well, one time. That was me.
He's a very active person.
I was active. I came. Yeah. I'm either all in or all out. So when I'm on. But when I sit down, it's just it's done. It's over. But I'll keep going, like I said. But if we gonna stop, I'm about to sit down. Like sit down. Don't ask me to get back up, please. Do not ask me to get back up.
What changed the trajectory of that?
Actually, I don't even know if he's a sportscaster anymore. Kevin Hunt.
Sounds
Yeah, he used to be a sportscaster here. He's like, you'd be really good in sales. I said, really? And like, but once again, you don't know, right? Because like I said, I did a lot of internships. So I internship for the PGA Tour. I internship for the Bucks. I internship for a lot of Channel 4, which is NBC, and then obviously ABC, which was Channel 12.
Wait, so you did?
I actually did internships I did all those things to understand if I want to be a sportscaster. I didn't like really working the weekends though.
Yeah.
That stunk. It really did. And at that time I was playing a lot of basketball. I was playing a lot of sports. And I'm like, this is kind of messing up my flow. I don't really like this as much. I'm like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe sales is the route. So first job out of college was working for V100 in the sales department.
V?
As in V100, as in the radio station.
Oh. Okay. Wait, doing what?
Sales, as in account executive.
For a radio station?
For a radio station. So if you want to advertise on a radio station, you've got to go through me.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did. She was minority-owned black station.
Huh. I didn't know that was... I really, for some reason, I get fascinated by... transfer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. We didn't even get to that point. Sorry. We didn't get to that point. We just talking. We just chit chatting here.
Because it's like this is not a career that you hear about.
No,
especially like growing up.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying. Right. It's specifically for that organization.
Yes,
correct.
So when you're like, I'm in Maine, I'm doing VR stuff. I'm like, tell me more about it. So I suppose we'll fast forward through sales. You're still in sales.
I'm still in sales. Used to work for CPI, Crisis Prevention Institute. They provided behavior management training. Had nothing to do with VR. So how do you pick up on the signs that Johnny's agitated? How do you de-escalate that situation properly? So I knew that when I worked with K-12s, which is the angle of being a teacher type situation, right. And then also hospital verticals. So a lot of hospitals are verticalized, which means that you have the neonatal unit, you may have a different unit, you may have another unit, whatever. But they all have different types of nurses, but they all deal with situation. Dad's upset because mom had a kid and don't know who the daddy is, and two dads show up, and how you de-escalate this situation. I'm just saying, that's an example, and it has actually happened. But what I'm saying is that how do you de-escalate those situations properly? They also have security people that at other hospitals, they need to learn. But if you do not properly train them, they're going to handle it however they want to handle it, which ends up putting them in a lawyer situation or on the news or whatever it is. So once I was at that organization, then I was like, there's more out here. And I know there's different ways of training individuals. And I was like, you know what? Let me see what is out there. So one of my mentors, he was like, you'd be good at the technical aspect, as in technology, and using technology to just getting in that space. I'll just do that. And one of my strong suits is dealing with K-12, because obviously I previously worked at CPI. So that was K-12. So middle schools, high schools, so on and so forth, right? So having that understanding of what that lane is makes it easier to make the transition. So how do I go with technology and education and merge them together? So ed tech. So posted my resume to an ed tech board. These guys reached out to me and said, hey, we are doing this. Excellent. Which I said, we provide workforce development training via virtual reality headsets. I said, fascinating. Tell me more.
Right.
And he was like, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking, okay. So give me 24 hours and I'll decide if I want to interview with you guys. Did some research, talked to my mentor, talked to some other people, so on and so forth. And I was like, I'm in.
Oh.
Interviewed for the job, and everything's been history ever since. So it's been a great ride, like I said. But ultimately, one of the reasons I like the organization is because we're giving individuals opportunities to visualize a future for themselves when they may not see the future for themselves because of their situation, as we talked about before, bringing it all the way back to what we're talking about. I won the parental lottery. I had a chance to be successful because I was able to be a kid and be able to experience some things and go to college and yada, yada, so forth. We both know that doesn't happen for everybody. We know that. And like I said, when a person is just trying to figure out what the next thing is going to be, when they can now focus on what that could possibly be, based on their interest or based on whatever they want to do, that changes their trajectory on how I'm going to invest in my future. And this is an avenue of being able to do that. And then when you start going down that lane of understanding, it's like, I'm actually good at this. Oh, tell me more. Give me more. Now you just need to help them. They're going to do all the work. You just need to keep them in the guardrails. I always say this, like, it's almost like when you throw that ball down the bowling alley lane and they hit the bumpers in there. They're going to hit a pin or two, right?
Yeah.
That is a victory for somebody who has no idea they should be in the bowling alley. It is. It is.
It's so true.
It is.
Yes.
It is. When I'm like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Oh, yeah, you're supposed to be. This is the ball lane. You're going to be on this lane and you're going to hit this. This is the ball you're going to use and this is the game we're playing.
Yeah.
And then you roll like, oh, I hit a pin. Great, fantastic. They don't know they're supposed to hit a strike. They just know they're supposed to hit a pin. And then once they get good at it, they're like, oh, I hit 2 or 3. And then when the lights start going, like, oh my goodness, what? Oh, this is exactly what I should be doing. Then you're just sitting there like, what else you need? You want to know how to throw the ball a different way? Yeah, let's start on my. Then they know where they need to be. You don't do much at that particular point in time, but you need to get them to that point. And a lot of times people just walk around and be nuts. You know what I mean? Just do whatever you do. So being part of this organization is very helpful, and just like seeing the plethora of individuals, whether you be in an incarcerated situation or a mother who's trying to figure out what the next steps, because you're working with a nonprofit that's in that space, or you're working with a career counselor that's trying to help those students that are now in 12th grade. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to college? You're going to go 2-year community college? Or are you going to go to apprenticeship program? Or are you going to work for an employer? Or are you just going to hang out? What are you going to do? I don't know. I don't know is not an answer. We need to figure something out. But being able to at least help them out and say, all right, maybe I don't like to do this, but I was interested about this. Okay, let's do some research on that. Then you start doing some research on it. I'm like, oh, there's a career involved with that? Well, yes, there is a career involved with that. And it pays X amount. Really? I didn't know that. And then once those lights start going on, you walk into a room, there's no lights. You're like, whatever, close the door and you move on, right? But if you see a faint light, you're like, oh, okay, let me go over there. And then all of a sudden, another light lights some other room. Before you know, now you start realizing what everything in the room is. You're like, I've been walking past this door so many times, I really didn't realize that this is one of those rooms that I should have been in since day one.
You know, it takes some time sometimes. I think about actors and musicians, right?
Yes.
They're like, oh, it took me years. Now I'm like 40 something and just having my big break. But the trial and error sometimes, opening the right door, closing doors.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Yeah, we gotta close some doors sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna close this door and leave it closed. Take the key and throw it out. Be like, yeah, this is not who I am. This is not part of me anymore. And like that chapter is closed.
Yeah,
I'm never going to open again.
I think it's fascinating though, because there's so much that people can do now. Technology
100%.
has opened doors for things.
That is correct.
At jobs,
100%.
Which makes it actually hard to figure out what you want to do.
Yes,
because there's so many options.
There are. So you figure there's 16 clusters that are available, and there's numbers of jobs underneath those 16 clusters. And trying to make a decision on what that is. And yeah, I can read, but a student at that particular point in time, I'm like, okay, I just want to make money.
Yeah.
Do I have to read all of these things? And like, okay, no. But if you figure out a way to possibly make it gamified to a certain extent, but like help them in that guidance, like I said, you don't have to come up with the ultimate decision, but I need you to be in the lane. I need you to be in the bowling alley first and understand that this is the game we're playing. And then you say, okay, fantastic. So what you're doing is you're taking them from here and you're trying to narrow it down to here. So once I'm in these types of lanes, it makes it much easier. I'm not even worried about art and sciences no more because I'm not going to be doing that. I don't have to do no research. Usually they're doing that at the beginning. But when you narrow it down to this point, that makes it very easy for them to start making better decisions and more like, oh, I really like that. I don't like that. or this is pretty good. This is my sweet spot. I had really good skill sets. I didn't know there was a job in it. Once they start getting to that point, then it's like, oh yeah, let me help you. Let me help you help yourself, because then I don't have to do anything. So that's the ultimate goal. Then we're trying to help those teachers, counselors, mentors, workforce agencies or whoever, get these individuals employed.
Now, that sounds easy. That makes sense. But you also talk about this works for folks who are incarcerated.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, with a brother who's been in and out, who's in right now, we talked before about kind of like that rotation or the cycle that happens.
Correct.
Because once you become a felon or you've been imprisoned, it's hard for you to come back into society, have a job, have insurance, just live like a normal person. Because now, like, there's this big stamp on your forehead that says, no, thank you. How is this applied to them? How's this helping them?
So typically what happens is that the correctional facilitation or correctional facility usually incorporates a program. Most programs are done 6 to 8 months prior to that person getting out of prison.
Got it.
So they may invest in having the headsets to have them get to that learning and that career exploration and actually start going down those pathways prior to them getting out. So when I get out in 8 months, I have a really good idea of what I want to do. Doesn't cost them much, doesn't cost them anything as far as supplies or anything like that. It's all actually in the headset virtually wise. So there are other programs you can adopt in there. If you have a headset, it's not only ours. You can have only ours, but I'm just saying that some organizations say, hey, we want to make sure that they have enough information in these to, like I said, take their mind away to get them to the point like, I got a plan once I get out. Last thing you want to do is get your piece of paper and it's day one after you've been out and like, now what?
Yeah.
That is not a good situation to be in if you've been in any extended amount of time. It could be as little as 6 months and as long as 60 years, but that's a fearful thing to come out and like, oh, this change. What do I do? And if you don't have the ecosystem set up to help you get there, it's going to be tough. As they say, most people are like, cool with you couch surfing for about 3 weeks to a month. But after that, I'm like, yo, you need to get out of my house and figure out what it is. But they may be doing everything they're supposed to do, and it may take a little bit longer. But if you can start that runway way ahead of time and help them out however that is, that's going to be a better way for them to actually make a better decision. Because you and I both know they don't want to be on your couch. They want to have their own house.
Yeah.
They want to have their own apartment. They want to say, I donated out. And then hopefully I tell the individuals that I've been working with, juveniles and things like that, I'm like, you guys are your best asset because you guys can relate to each other on what is going on. So no matter what you think, you need to lean on each other to make sure that you make the most positive decision. Like, I may be having a bad day, but you're like, no, come on, man, let's go. Come with me. Let's go. Or vice versa. And that could be your saving grace to give you that extra runway you need to be successful, whatever it is.
You grew up in the era or the time of It Takes a Village.
Yes, that is correct.
You talk about like there's family that has surrounded you.
That is correct.
And that just sparked that for me. Like, you are now incorporating that now, juveniles, like, you have support, you have each other.
You have each other.
And I take advantage of that.
You should. And I scream that all the time. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the only one. I'm like, don't use it as a crutch. How do we focus on making sure that we work together to help each other? Because sometimes they say, I want to be a business owner. I'm like, but you didn't know that Johnny wanted to do this and he didn't know that you wanted to do that. But what if you guys can do this together? Or what if he says, come on, I got something for you because I need somebody to help me do this. Oh, I didn't know that. Let's work together. Or you have the same interests.
Right.
And you didn't know that. Let's work on trying to get in this apprenticeship program together. So now you don't feel like you're doing it by yourself. You feel like you're doing it with your guy that you've been with for the last 6 months anyway, or 7 months anyway, or whatever it is. And if you need to, like, the team is going to work better, as in racking your brain and understanding what are the best ways to get. Do we need to go talk to Mr. Johnson or talk to Miss Katie or whatever it is, whoever that person is going to be to help you get through these times? So when you say, you know what, we made it, and then you can lean in, that's a friendship you're never going to lose, ever going to lose.
Yeah. So the purpose, or this season, I interview everyone is from or lives in Milwaukee.
Okay.
You're like born and raised in Milwaukee.
I was born and raised in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's
so
correct.
I always want to bring it back to Milwaukee and into this space. Mm-hmm. So although your region is that northeast corner, how do you incorporate all of that work, energy, time, influence here in Milwaukee?
It's a great question. Well, obviously, we're having this conversation today. We're having this conversation because we never thought about we were going to be talking about this when I first originally met you.
No.
And then we started having this conversation, and it was like, that's an admirable thing that you do. I'm like, I'm not doing it for admiration, but anyways, because I truly believe that I'm in a position to give back now. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely not that you can't give back at any age. But I'm saying I'm in a position to where I need to be giving back. Yes, I need to, and it's really important. And like I said, does that mean it has to be monetary? Does it could be a combination of time, monetary, whatever it is. But if you could help somebody, you should help somebody. And it may seem small to you, but it may be huge to the person who feels that they don't know anything about this. And you actually gave them the key to the door that they were trying to get into, which turns on all the lights, which is like, you know what? Should have been in the room all the time. So if I could do my part somehow, some way to anybody, I think it's really important to be in that situation. Like I said, have this conversation. Maybe we're going to get this word out to other people. Say, you know what? Maybe can we bring this program to our school, or could we forward this program to our nonprofit, or whatever it may be, or say, hey, can we get this in our correctional facility that's actually physically going to work? This is not a poster for this, but realistically, I think it's honestly, truly a helpful tool that's going to help individuals who don't see the next steps for them and can now start visualizing that, hey, I too can be successful, because we know everybody's always told that they're not going to be successful all the time. All the time. And if they say, no, I'm not going to be that person, I feel like I've helped somehow, some way. And like I said, so bringing it back to Milwaukee, I just think having those candid conversations, or, just onesie, twosie, I think that makes a difference. And like I said, I'm always willing to help. And that's just me.
Yeah, just leave it at that. Yeah. Is that cool? Absolutely, because that was so enlightening. That moves us into the dessert piece of the podcast.
And I have a sweet tooth.
We are,
so I'm all about soft cookies and brownies. Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
This is that part where we do give that part where we give back. We give that enlightening word. And I mean, that was really it, because people are so overwhelmed with what's going on. Social media plays a big part of that, especially with our young folks. Like, you can swipe. Folks are doing everything.
Oh my goodness. I just, it seems simple, and I'm victim to it. It's good. I said, I'm a sneakerhead. I just put it that way. And you constantly get reminders like, yeah, this shoe's coming out. That shoe's coming out. I said, but you also have the capability of unplugging.
Yeah.
You literally have the capability. You have the power in your hand to turn the doggone thing off. It's not like somebody is saying, hey, you have to have the phone on. You have to get the latest tweet, or you have to get the latest Skype, or you have to go on Facebook, or you have to do that. Yeah. You could actually turn the phone off if you need to do so, or disconnect from any of those apps that you have. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. They are convenient. I will be the first one to admit, I'm traveling all the time. They are convenient. However, there are times you're like, you know what? I need to turn this thing off, because it's like, I just need to be in the moment, be under the time, and things like that. So that's just me. But I've also gone up a different era when I didn't have any of this. But I've also been the last two. And the reason why is because I still want to have candid conversation with somebody. I still want to be in the room and be present. I still want to know that it's an authentic conversation, that they know that I'm aware that we're having this conversation. So if we, for example, we're in a room and the TV's on, and I know it's about to be a conversation where you need my, I will physically turn the TV off. I'll put the phone away, and we're now going to have a conversation. Because otherwise, I don't feel like I'm giving my total attention to the situation. You're half listening. You're trying to feel like you're dialing in, or whatever, but you're mailing it in for the most part. And nobody wants to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel it. Every third of way. Nobody wants to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel that way. So when you actually have those conversations, you have to be present, and they're like, okay, all right, we need to have a conversation. Well, you need to put all this other stuff away. It's like, hey, we are going to have a conversation. And that just shows the candidness of how sincere you take that person, in addition to how sincere you take the conversation. And you want things because if you don't, it's going to take twice, if not 3 times, or 4 times long to get to where you need to get to. on that side. So I just don't get myself in it. I just try to. It's better for me.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I need to concentrate on healthy 100. That's what I need to concentrate on. Healthy 100. So that's the day-to-day activity.
Okay.
Is that enough? I don't know.
You make for like the perfect, which is part of the work that you really want to do in sports broadcast.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I could see. You know what? You know who got the best job in the world? Pat Sajak had the best job in the world. Yeah, he used to be the host for Wheel of Fortune. Had no real responsibility for showing up and actually saying, Chuck, that was a great answer, but unfortunately that is wrong. Next, it'd be like, and get paid a ton of money doing that. I'm like, but I always could see myself being actually a host. Kiddingly, but I could see myself being a host of a show as a game show. I think that'd be so awesome. That would be so fun. So fun. I'm like, because just the camaraderie you have with somebody on the spur of the moment, like, I could definitely see myself doing that. That would be the ultimate job for me.
I love it. So at this point, if you have, you're not much of an influencer per se.
No, I'm
in
not.
terms of social media.
I am not.
No, I would.
So don't get it. You got to have a conversation with me.
Because at this point, I would say, where can the people find you?
At my house, or the gym. Come to the gym. What's the address over here? What's the address? It was the address. I'm going to go to address 100. How to 100. That's right. This is a plug for the Wisconsin Athletic Club.
Well, that's where you can find Terrence evenings.
Yes, evenings. Typically speaking, from 5:30 to 8:30. If it's 7:30, you would see me on the treadmill watching all the local sports teams, whether it be the Brewers, the Badgers, the Bucks.
But for real.
No. True. That actually is true.
Yeah. You know, but speaks to, like, we do have a really good community. Christian Rivera, the personal trainer, was on serving community. No, not community. Honesty, serving honesty. He's a personal trainer over here. There's just a lot of people who are amazing at the WAC. If you are looking to get fit, whether that's physical, mental, trying to reach out 100,
Healthy 100.
Get into a gym, move your body.
Yes. And like I said, consistency is the key.
Yeah.
And like I said, no matter what that is, whether it be racquetball, whether it be lifting and running, whether it be anything, swimming, aerobics class, kickboxing class, whatever, there's communities within those, and you get your exercise within those, and it just keeps your mind going the way it should be going. You know, like it's very helpful. And I think I said it is the great elixir for a lot of people. And I'm like, there's a lot of times you don't want to go, but if you got somebody saying, hey, 100%. You should be there, and they're like, oh yeah, they expect me to be there. Like, then you go.
Cause I'll be waiting.
Yeah, okay.
I'll be waiting. And sometimes I'm just like, I want to hear about where the travel's been. Like, I haven't been to that area. It's
crazy. Oh, it is. But I would never see any of these part of the countries either. So for me, I'm thinking this is a great experience. Once again, I'm turning to the positive. I feel like I said, I would never be there anyway. And I'm like, I get to see how other people live and their experiences. Like, and maybe I'll learn a few things. Like, you know what? I want to run into somebody else that seen this thing and they think it's unique, and it's not really unique because this person up in Maine is doing the same thing because they're in this rural area, whatever it may be. And like I said, I've been to Maine, I've been to Vermont, I've been to New Hampshire, I've been to all these places. I'm like, I didn't ever just on the whim just gone like, let's go to New Hampshire, let's go hang out in rural whatever. I'm like, that's not happening, but I get a chance to experience these things. I got stories to tell. I'm like, oh, it's awesome. So I can't really complain. I think I said, I signed up for this.
You did.
I signed up for this, but I like it. I like it.
I love it for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Because you clearly love it. And it's doing some amazing work. Again, giving people that hands-on experience in a way when things are overwhelming or it's not ready to get back into the real world. Mm-hmm. Speaking to that crowd. But yeah.
There's success no matter what situation you're in. I believe that everybody has a chance to be successful. They really do. Now they'll have to put some effort in. Don't get me wrong. But I also believe that you have to have somewhat of a passion for your success. Mm. And then if you can show up consistently, somebody's going to give you a chance because they know I'm like, this dude showed up again. I'm like, yo, and this dude showed up again. And it's like, you know what? come on, man. Let me teach you a few things. And before you know, like, we can't get rid of this dude. I'm like, he's one of my best. That's how it happens.
Yes.
Like,
What?
Yes.
You have to show up.
You have to show up. And like I said, that's not a magic formula, people. That's not a magic formula. It's not like, oh my God, he just pulled this out of the earth. I'm like, it's not EMC squared. It's not that at all. It's some basic stuff, but you got to consistently do it. Even when you don't want to get out of bed and go, you should.
Yeah.
So
the last part of the podcast is what we call the final sip. And it's a word sentence. It's just like that last push that you want to give to the listener.
Ooh, what is the last? I'm going to have this big old innuendo or you got some kind of, ooh.
I had one, you know.
Tell me what yours was. I'm sorry.
When you talk about showing up, you show up and know that people are rooting for you.
Yes, that is correct.
Are cheering and rooting for you, but you also have to do that part and show up.
You definitely have to show up. I would agree. I would say, your health is the most expensive thing you own. You didn't have to pay anything to get it. All you have to do is maintain it. The choice is yours. Do you want to afford a Ferrari? I like a Ferrari. It takes a lot of maintenance. However, it has its benefits. Now, it has its benefits. So the question is now, do you have to have a Ferrari? No, you don't have to have a Ferrari. But once again, you have to consistently show up and take care of what you do have. What you do have. Because otherwise, it sits and, you get nothing out of it. So don't expect to
go flat real quick.
Real quick, no matter what it is. But you want,
I love that analogy. That's great.
Yeah. That was one of the creeds I had for a while.
Yeah, rolled on the tongue. For sure.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah. I started, I'm like, oh yeah, what about that one? Yeah. My health is the most expensive thing I own. I didn't have to pay anything to get it.
When we talk about investing in yourself and investing in your health, that is what
yes.
I mean.
And that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Consistency helps you get that in eating right and things like that. But realistically, it's going to keep you above ground and standing upright. And usually, like I said, there are other things you can't. The cards are in. You have no choice just due to the fact that for health reasons, or you got the gene pool or whatever it is. You can't. Don't focus on those. Focus on what you can do. What you can do. Let's focus on what you can do. And that's not rocket science, but it's like focus on what you can do. It's like, if I got one arm, well, I'm gonna make the best one arm I got. Or if I got two legs, though, I got two legs and one arm. We're gonna make the best of this, whatever. And you just have to do it. And because at the end of the day, psychologically, you're keeping yourself in the game too. And that's what it's like. Yeah, I'm gonna be that dude. I'm gonna be that dude or whatever it is. But maybe that's just me. But I don't know.
No, it's in there. It's psychological. But
let me do bad by my damn self. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to shoot you. This is brought to you by.
This is how it goes. This is how it goes. And that's what I said. He needs to be up here.
Oh, no.
Well, thank you, Terrence.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Podcast. This has been a desire of mine, a want of mine for a while. So I'm glad.
Actually glad Kama almost messed this up for us. She almost messed this up for us.
Well, thank you for listening or watching. Remember, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. I'll catch you in the next episode. Go Beasts.
Good one. Thank you.